I've got a very special presentation here. With me today is Derek. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good, good. I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Derek, how old are you, man?
I'm currently 32. I'll be 33 in February.
Now, folks, the reason why I'm interviewing Derek is because he's had two children, and he's currently dealing with not being able to see one of his children as his son. And he posted something on Facebook the other day. Let me read that real quick to you. Um, I just want to read a little snippet. It says, going on 4 weeks without his son, I'm not going to say his name, and it really sucks to have a baby mother who is literally soulless and doesn't care if he suffers as long as I do. Derek, can you tell me kind of what you've been going through and that's really strong language.
It's well, it's much anticipated. I mean, it's what happened was it stems from you being able to do so much before you can't do anything anymore. She lives in another town, and he goes to school in Dover, which is where I live. And obviously I work, a regular schedule, like it's like 8 to 4:30. So I'm not around to get him. So I pay for a babysitter, and the babysitter was doing a really good job for a long time. She was watching him at my parents' house. I just go over afterwards and grab him, or she would get him after she got out of work. But the babysitter couldn't do it anymore. She had, I don't know, like her college classes had changed. So basically, we had to find a new babysitter, and that's what started this whole controversy. Because you could do 1,000 favors for this woman, but the one time you can't do it is the time where she'll just hate you. And it doesn't even matter. That's like the only reason there is. It's literally over nothing.
So
Um,
so she's basically like being totally inflexible because she can be, or she just.
Yeah, pretty much. She feels like she's holding all the cards. I have a copy of the court order, which I have to enforce, but the court order was made in 2006. So it's the court order is old, 2007, sorry. Court order is very old. And at the time, I was in networking for a local cable company called MetroCast. And when I did it, obviously I had a lot of money and stuff, but I was unemployed. They had just laid me off. So I wasn't employed. So the time that they said where my days where I would take my son were Sunday through Wednesday. Obviously, I can't take that. I can't see him on those days. I work at 9 to 5, just like everybody else. So I mean, those days are really, really hard. Plus, he goes to school now. He's enrolled in school. He wasn't before when this was made. He was just, maybe 1 years old. So, or
So the
1 year
court
old.
so the court decided to give you visitation on days that you work.
Yeah, well, yeah. The court set up those days when I wasn't working.
Okay, I see, I
Um,
see.
so I, things have changed since 2007. I have a regular job, but she wants me to follow the court order, even though she does not. She hasn't followed any of it ever. But when she gets angry, it's, well, you have to do it, and I'm not going to. It's literally she's the most hatred person I've ever met in my life, and in order for you to actually see where I'm coming from, you would have to know the person.
Now, I did a video like about I don't know, maybe last year, about how women can like appear to be like the sweetest, most wonderful human beings, and then like if there's a divorce or if something happens like this, they can become the most vile. Can you talk to me about how she was when you met her?
I was just going to jump on that topic whereas you just said that. When I first met her, it was totally different. She's a totally different person. And what I do now is like the 90-day theory. If you can make it 90 days and your personality doesn't alter, to an extreme, then, like the relationship can go somewhere. But I mean, I didn't have this theory back then. When I had Aiden, I was 25, and, I figured My dad and her grandfather were best friends, and that's how like I had known her. Actually, we had met, and then we figured that out afterwards. So it was kind of like, a bonus. My dad was always wanting to help her out and stuff like that, and I had lived with him at the time. So this was back when I was like 19.
So you met her when you
But
were 19 years old, so this
yep,
was like 13
and
years ago?
right, and I mean, she was she's very pleasant, nice,
Sweet as pie.
oh yeah, 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 absolutely to a T. She did, everything, but I don't know, there was just small things. Like there was one day I had called out of work, and I don't do it all the time. It's once in a blue moon, and she had snapped into a whole nother person over it. And to follow, after this, it was like a 6 month spree in like 2005 when I started noticing like her mood swings crazy. And it was in 2008 she got diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia on top of
So
whatever
how
that
many
was.
years were you with her before you started to notice? And did you guys end up getting married and then divorced, or?
No, we never got married. I'm not very religious at all whatsoever. She wasn't at all either. And neither one of us actually really even believed in it. I mean, marriage just isn't the same thing it was for our grandparents. Like my grandparents right now are on their 64th anniversary. They've had 8 kids together. And there was no cheating, no nothing. That's true love right there. They're still happy and they still give each other hugs and kisses when one of them has to leave the house. You don't see that nowadays. That doesn't happen.
So
Uh,
you guys decided together not to get married, but to have a couple of children, or were they
yeah,
accidents, or?
no, no. Aiden was planned. That's the son I haven't been seeing. He was planned. She had a son whose name was Landon when I met her, and Landon was about a year old. And I pretty much was the father figure there, where his father wasn't really around. She used to tell me, he didn't care, he wasn't there, and of course, like I ate it all up. I was like, oh sure, whatever she says is right. Well, come to find out, he was looking for her, and she was, hiding the kid. We're actually really good friends now.
So
Myself and Landon's father.
she presented a story to you that he was basically, an asshole,
Right,
and then here you come in to sort of rescue the situation, and it kind of got you involved into the situation, thinking that here's this damsel in distress, and here I am,
pretty
I
much.
can fix this situation. Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly how it went, pretty much. I mean, it was just, she made me feel like, all right, well, his father's not around, he doesn't care. I need somebody, who's gonna be a father figure towards this kid and also financially, help out. And that was me. And at first we were really in love, so it was like we wanted to have our own, and she wanted to give me that like a child. So we had our own place. Things were good. I was making tons of money, so we kept trying. And she had worked at Best Buy at the time, and I had worked at Geek Squad for about 6 years. And we kind of worked in the same building. She was on the other side, and so we would like carpool to work and stuff. When she was pregnant, she wasn't working at Best Buy anymore. I had worked at MetroCast. I left Geek Squad towards when Aiden was born. And she just, I mean, like, since then, when she had like so much time just sitting at home, like, after she had given birth to Aiden, things, that's when things like kind of railed, like derailed, I
How so?
guess.
How did she
Um,
change after
I don't
Aiden
know
was
if she
born?
just didn't have like a lot to do in her time, or she would invite like old boyfriends over while I was at work, or just come by randomly, and there'd be like a party at my house when I got home from work, and the kids are in the other room sleeping, I just work 10 hours. I really don't want 100 people at my house.
And
I mean, that's
you're
not.
paying all the bills, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't really asking a lot. It just little stuff like that was happening nonstop. Her moods would shift dramatically, like all the time. There wasn't really. I found out the hard way who she really was. And it was. And the funny thing is, she's never had like a drug problem or anything like that. It's just she drinks all the time. Like she'll go out and drink with friends or want to go out, and that time is more important than spending time with, her son
So
or
so on a scale of 1 to 10, being 10 being the perfect mother, 1 being a terrible mother, where would she rate?
being all fair, she is relatively, I mean, she has a lot of hatred towards me and anybody else that stands in her way and tells her she can't do whatever she wants. But I mean, she at the end of the day, she's relatively a good parent to Aiden, and for that I'm thankful. But at the same time, I really wish she would, stop hurting him and let him come see me. Um,
So that's another thing you had
I would say
posted.
like five or
You had
six.
posted on here, what kind of super parent keeps their kid away from their father that he loves more than anything in the world. Why is she doing that?
It's because of the babysitter incident. This is just the new incident that happened. I mean, like, we had this little circle going on for ever since like 2008, 2009, where she would hate me for like a month and keep Aiden from me. Then for a month, we would just be friends and talk, and everything would be civil. And then another month where she would be seriously trying to get back into a relationship with me. After the stuff that she's already done, that's completely 150% out of the question. That'll never happen again. Um, but I mean, that's usually how it is. I mean, ex-girlfriends, once they figure out you're doing 10 times better without them, want to come back. I
Sure.
mean, in my experiences, that's how it's always been. So, I mean, she kept doing that, and it would just go in a circle. But it's never been as drastic as it is now. She fears court. I know she fears court because Landon's dad has already taken her to court. She put Landon's dad through hell, and when he told the judge, was very unhappy with her. So she doesn't want to go back, but she doesn't want to lose this argument at the same time.
Sure.
So she won't give them to me on the weekends, and that's her problem. I need to see him on the weekends. This is the game that we've made. I'm not going to get my way, and she's not going to give in, and so Aiden suffers in the meantime because he can't see his father. I mean,
So
I showed up at the school today to eat lunch with him because it was the only way I could talk to him. I had
that's
today
part
off,
of it.
so I went in and I ate lunch with him, and I'm stuck right now because I don't want to involve him, but I don't want him to think that I'm the reason this is going on. Like I'm just not in the picture because I choose not to see you. That's not the case. But how do you explain to an 8-year-old that their mother is just keeping them from, like I don't know if it'd be right to just drop that information on him at the same time.
Yeah,
So
that's a tough call. So like when you guys were first together, did you have anybody? Was there any of your friends that were saying, "Hey, this girl's trouble" or anything like that?
no, no, not at all. Actually, I had a friend, we called him Saddam because his last name was Sudam. And it was a long running joke, but he was a pretty good friend of mine and an old roommate, and he was dating one of her friends, and we went on a bunch of double dates and stuff, and everything was fine. But it's really funny, they were best friends for a really long time. He ended up moving down to Georgia. He has a kid with that other girl, and even though like he was sending her child support under the table and doing everything humanly possible that he didn't have to do to help her out and to raise his son Dylan, they wouldn't she wouldn't let him see the child either.
So are you
So,
paying child support yourself?
oh yeah, I
How
pay
much are you paying?
it very little. The
Okay.
courts, whereas we have 50-50 custody, I only have to pay $50 a month.
Okay.
But at the same time, I pay for his babysitter. I pay for every article of clothing he has.
Sure.
And 9 out of 10 times it's funny because I'll go buy him all this stuff, all this clothes, and spend so much money. And then the next day I'll see Landon wearing,
His clothes that you
the
bought for yourself.
$80 jacket I bought him. Yeah.
Sure.
So I mean, it's clothing both of them. I don't know. I mean, I love Landon to death too. He's not my child, but I feel morally responsible where he was there. He's Aiden's brother. They love each other.
So let's
Landon's dad wasn't there.
so let's say that you could go back in time, like you could take a time machine and go back and give yourself some advice. What kind of advice would you give yourself? And do you think you would listen to that advice?
No, I don't think I would at all. I mean, I guess in order for any of that to make sense, you would have to meet Aiden and talk to him for a minute because he's the sweetest, most honest little boy you've ever met in your life. He's cute as hell. He loves all the same things I do. He's a carbon copy. He'll play video games with me for like 5 hours on end, and I mean, I know it's not good, but at the same time, I can kind of direct him because I know how to talk, or I know what I would listen to if I worded it a certain way, and he's the same way. So I know how to guide him in a way I wouldn't be able to with Landon. Uh,
What about yourself? I mean, like, would you have like if you could get advice to other guys, what would you say? Would you do things the same way, or would you have?
well, I would.
Are you smarter now? So you
Oh no, absolutely. I don't think I would have done things differently as far as the relationship goes. I wouldn't take Aiden back for the world. I mean,
sure, sure,
I would have to make that mistake again. There's just no doubt in my mind. I would definitely do it, but I would have stopped the games, 2 years into it. After Aiden was born, it was all downhill. She got diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia. She went crazy all the time. She had different guys over every night while I was at work, drinking parties all the time. You name it. Kids are upstairs sleeping. There's music blasting. I stopped all that shit when I was in my early 20s. If I drank, it was at night at past 8:30, 9 o'clock when they were definitely in bed or they were at their mother's that night or something. But at the time, I didn't very indulge much. I was too busy working and doing everything else. But
sure.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's
So
just
you wouldn't change. Obviously, you wouldn't change having Aiden, but
no.
like in terms of dealing with the relationship, was is there anything you would have done differently
Oh, I
or?
would have dumped her off like within that 2 years after Aiden was born, where she would just do nothing but play games. That's I would have just left then and started looking for something else. I've had endless opportunities, but I'm a very loyal person, and I just don't take them when they arise. But that's usually one-sided, and in this case, it was. So.
So I appreciate you sharing all of this stuff. Have you heard of the MGTOW movement? Are you familiar with any of the men? Like, there's kind of a large underground. They call it the manosphere of guys that have gone through similar situations as you have and have sworn, look, never again. I'm not going to get involved in relationships. I'm just going to pursue my career, take care of my children or whatever. Where do you stand on that kind of thing?
Well, it's Uh, I'm not sure. I haven't really given it a whole lot of thought, but that's exactly where I am right now. My only obligation is to Aiden. I mean, I just focus on myself and fix, issues that I really can't focus on somebody else and my son at the same time. So I've eliminated, that other spot completely.
Sure, sure.
I mean,
Do you still feel like, okay, maybe I've had a bad situation or been through a bad relationship, but not all women are like that, and I hope I can find a companion that that works
yeah,
out with me.
not really. At this point, like I said, I'm 32. I've had a ton of relationships, and they all have turned out the same. I mean, it could just be bad luck, but I'm not looking for anything right now, and I'm not pursuing it or even hoping for it. I really don't even care. As long as he's okay, that's all I need. He's not going to be breaking my heart anytime soon. I can tell you that.
Sure,
So, I
sure.
mean that's where that stands.
Right on. Well, hey, thanks so much for your story. It's compelling, and I think it's going to be well received.